Happy Monday, people. AI Johnny, how was the weekend? Weekend was great.
My weekend was busy but good. Yeah, nice weather. We got a lot done. We had some guests at our bed and breakfast.
That's super awesome. Super awesome. This is going to be an awesome show, guys. Vibe Coding Bootcamp Episode 1. If you don't know what vibe coding is, you're tuned into the right place. Yeah, Johnny, vibe coding is taking over the world. All right, people, here we go.
Welcome to Season 12 of Airhead Institute, your 45-minute AI power-up at noon Eastern, and a massive happy one-year anniversary to all our Airheads. This month, we're broadcasting live across all the socials and Zoom. If you're new here, join our free AI community to grow alongside other curious minds, and give your kids a head start by enrolling them in the Airhead after-school program. Here's May's weekly lineup. Mondays, we move past syntax and build apps entirely through natural language in Vibe Coding Bootcamp. Tuesdays, we explore accessible, cutting-edge apps for rapid learning and content creation in the next-gen AI tools. Wednesdays, we track the massive capital flowing into AI and ask the trillion-dollar questions in the AI bubble. Thursdays, we profile the famous CEOs driving the revolution and analyze their power in AI architects of the future. Fridays, we push the boundaries of physics to simulate the past and predict the future in AI time travel. We're making AI practical, powerful, and accessible for everyone. No tech background? No problem. Whether you're a student, professional, or lifelong learner, just show up. Guided by your hosts, AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're keeping it bold, brainy, and built for real-world impact. AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind.
Well, hello, developers. Welcome back to Season 12 of Airhead Institute. Today is Episode 1 of the Vibe Coding Bootcamp. And yes, I'm AI Johnny, a long time coder. You know, syntax is dead. If you're still agonizing over typos and missing semicolons, you're an obsolete coder. So today, we're going to bypass the keyboard entirely, and we will build a fully capable video game using nothing but human language, pure intent, translated into instant architecture. This isn't the future of software development. This is the reality that's happening right now. Stop typing, start commanding. And to lead us, here is AI Junior. I caught him at 3 a.m. verbally coding an MMORPG until his browser crashed and his laptop fan went full jet engine. He's the only one who actually understands this wizardry. AI Junior, are you catching my vibe?
Hey, Johnny, you know, the model is trying its absolute best, but I definitely hit a hardware wall on that one. Welcome, everyone. Reminders is an immersive class. You may not understand everything we say here today, but stick with us daily and you'll be fluent in AI in no time. We are making the connection to this AI class today, and absolute anyone can become a software builder, software engineer, software developer, whatever the term you use you're comfortable with. So since it's an interactive and immersive class, if you're on Zoom, unmute and ask your questions in real time, interrupt as much as you want. We are not, and if you're on the live stream, ask your question in a little bit earlier. There's a 30-second delay. We're not ignoring you. So for series context, today kicks off May only arc, Vibe Coding Bootcamp. So we're moving past traditional syntax. Today we're starting with the absolute baseline of the concept using Google Gemini. So we're gonna head over to gemini.google.com and open a canvas so you guys can follow along. AI Johnny, are you ready for the wow factor?
I am. And by the way, vibe coding is a really cool term. I like the sound of it.
Yeah, it's actually pretty cool. It's pretty cool. What's interesting is everybody is actually vibe coding now, and the category is so broad in general. We're gonna define vibe coding, but what's interesting is people are using this term vibe coding for a lot of different things. So guys, I'm gonna drop in gemini.google.com into the chat so you guys can actually follow along. So AI Johnny, are you ready?
I am ready. Let's do the wow.
All right. So, guys, check this out. So, I'm going to share my screen for a second. And if you actually head over to that link I actually dropped, which is gemini.google.com, you'll actually get to this page. Now, this page itself, it looks like a typical chat interface. You're going to chat. Now, vibe coding comes in different flavors. So, we're starting off level one or category one is the chat box. So, if you actually see in the lower thirds at the bottom, it's the episode one is the chat box. So, this is the easiest way for anybody who's never coded before to be able to just interact with a chatbot to become a developer. No. Next week we're gonna get a little bit deeper, and then the week after is gonna be a season finale. It's gonna be even deeper. So yeah, John, you remember that game Space Invaders?
I do.
Yeah. So we're gonna code it up today in less than a minute. How about that?
Quick metaphor. In the old days when I Dream of Jeannie was on TV all the time,
Mm-hmm.
you would, if you wanted to build like a table and chairs, you would have to go out and get some wood and cut it and get a router and maybe some stain and screw the parts together. And then after a day or two, you'd have your table and chairs. But
Uh-huh.
Genie, or even Bewitched for that matter, could just say, the blink or say table and chairs, and the table and chair would just show up. So
Yeah.
that said, in the old days, and I'm not talking about that old, I did it. You'd open up a computer programming and you'd learn how. First, you'd go to college for 4 years, and then you'd learn how to code, and you'd write all this code with semicolons and variable names and line numbers and the whole nine, and then you'd hit compile, and it would create a program. But today, it seems like what we're about to do is a lot like what Samantha would do on Bewitched, or the genie would do on I Dream of Jeannie. That's my analogy for the day.
The analogy is great. I hope other people, because I remember that show from the 80s. Now, I don't know how many people actually remember that show based on the actual, but it is a great show. If you guys ever actually know about I Dream of Jeannie, is actually pretty cool. All right, yeah, Johnny, so I love that. So let's actually go to Gemini. So if you're actually on Gemini, we're going to teach you guys how to code. So if you actually go here, there's a little button here called Tools. Now, if you go, let me make it a little bit bigger. So AI Johnny, if you actually see this button called Tools, I'm going to hit that button and switch to Canvas. Now, Canvas just means you have the ability to actually generate some visuals, right? Don't worry about what type of visuals, just select Canvas. And what we're going to do is we're going to drop in a little prompt here, and that prompt itself is just some instructions, and that instruction is just saying, go ahead, I want to be able to create our game Space Invaders. No, before I actually put anything else, I'm going to drop that also in the chat for you guys to actually play along as well. So let me copy that prompt and send that to you guys. All right. So AI John, I'm going to read the prompt. I see Shauna actually says, I love I Dream of Jeannie too. Definitely. All right. So listen to this prompt, AI Johnny. So the prompt is this: write a complete single file HTML JavaScript Space Invaders game. Include an auto shoot mechanic for the player's ship. So I have to control the movement, keep the code clean, functional, and completely contained to one block. Do not add external dependencies. Make the aliens neon purple and glowing score tracker, and increase the enemy speed by 50%. So I'm actually just going to hit the send button here. And AI Johnny, what is some magic is happening at this point in time? So the AI actually took our prompt. It's looking at the actual prompt. It's actually understanding it in natural language. It's using inference, it's using all those attention mechanisms that we talked about. It's figuring out what's important. And while it's inference, it's setting temperature as low as possible. And then it's actually now going to start. You're going to see on the screen, it's going to move the window to the left. Let me see. Maybe I zoomed in a little bit too much. Yeah. So it's going to zoom the window to the left. There you go. And then it's going to start building out that HTML page in real time in front of our eyes. And then in a matter of 30 seconds or so, it's going to stop and you're going to see a nice preview. Just like that, I Dream of Jeannie snapped her nose and she actually got a game to actually show up. Right, AI Johnny?
So I cut and paste your thing. I put it into Gemini and my thing. I'm already playing Space Invaders, and I'm just about done killing all the enemies. I only have about 7 left. But
Yeah.
go ahead and
So
show it to the rest of the people.
yep. So if you guys see here, what actually it created was on the right. It showed that little thing. It has a little score at the top. Let me actually make it a little bit bigger for you guys, so you guys can actually see. All right. Hopefully this is a little bit bigger for you guys can actually see. You know what? Let me try to make this. All right. Yeah, Johnny. So here's my little Space Invaders game that it actually created. Right. So it's a fully working in the web page, me playing Space Invaders. Right. Yeah, Johnny.
Yep.
How cool is that? That took us what, less than a minute and a half, 2 minutes.
I'm sending an email as we speak to Mark Goldfeld. A little quick story. You know who Mark is, right? He comes on our show from time to time.
Yes, I do.
I went
Yeah,
to
Johnny.
school with him in 1980, and we were working on a mainframe computer called the Prime 400, and we were doing all kinds of stuff with linked lists and crazy stuff that you learned back in those days, assembler language. And he was working on a program that he called Space Invaders because it was real popular back then. And what he did was he put up a screen of X's, and he had like I don't know, some kind of a special character that was the shooter. And if you hit the right arrow, it would go right. If you hit the left arrow, it would go left. And if you hit space bar, it would shoot. And when you hit an X, it would disappear, which is exactly what you did. It took him all semester, 6 months, to write this program that you just wrote in seconds. So now I'm writing him. I said, go to gemini.google.com, choose.
Yeah, so
Does
Johnny, yeah,
anybody?
Johnny, 1 second. I want to show something that's actually rather even more interesting than this. So what we actually
Okay.
did is in less than 2 minutes, we actually created this Space Invader game. No, the more important fact is we're gonna actually get a little bit deeper on how cool it is. So let's read the word of the day, AI Johnny.
Okay. And the word of the day is vibe coding, of course. By definition, this is the process of generating functional software by communicating your intent through natural language to an AI rather than writing traditional manual syntax. Analogy time, it's like being the visionary director of a movie rather than the camera operator sweating over the technical lens focus. Good
Exact,
analogy.
exactly. So, guys, to deepen that, vibe coding itself is the bridge between human imagination and machine execution, right? So it allows the model to parse your everyday language, translate it into complex code, and return a usable output without you needing to understand the underlying programming language. So it just really means that humans don't need to actually understand the details of having the technical skills to be able to code. It's just automatically done for you with actually the AI. So yeah, Johnny, what is the coolest thing that you can actually show now for this in the level 1 edit? So we're done building the game. So what improvements you actually want to make?
Um, didn't they have different color things and you got more how about a scoreboard?
Yeah, that would be cool. I think we actually added a scoreboard in there. So we can actually, because we did code a scoreboard in that thing. No, we can go ahead and just go over here and here. So tell me, yeah, Johnny, because we have a scoreboard already here, give me something else that you want to be able to add to this Space Invaders game.
Let's have, instead of just those little boxes, let them be like animals, maybe.
All right, let's do that. So, guys, if you look on the left-hand side, this is a fully chat module that you can actually chat with things. So, yeah, Johnny, what kind of animals you want?
Well, I'd like a monkey and a beaver and just a normal goat,
All
um,
right.
maybe an octopus.
All right, so we're gonna say let's make the aliens a monkey, a goat. I'm just gonna say farm animals, other farm animals, and what else you want on there, AI Johnny?
The octopus, and when you get the octopus, you get 8 points.
An octopus. So, guys, what you know is what was here, what we're doing. And AI Johnny is actually telling me just in plain English what he wants the game to do, and I'm just gonna say an octopus and make the octopus worth. You said 8 points.
Yes.
8 points. All right. So by just doing in natural language, we're able to actually add to our game, and AI is going to understand. You're saying, okay, I understand that you want your aliens to actually be a monkey and a goat or other farm animals, and you also want an octopus in there. And then we're going to make the octopus worth 8 points. So we have our scorecard already there, and because we're vibe coding in the actual browser, we are just telling the AI the things that we actually want to do. So it says, hey, it came out pretty fast. It says, I'll update the game. I know it's a little bit hard to see. It says, I'll update the game. Let me make it a little bit bigger, right? So it says, I'll update the game. Let me see. It says, I update game to swap out the neon alien blocks for emojis representing an octopus, monkey, goat, and cow, and pig and cow. So let's see what it looks like. Look at that AI, Johnny. We actually have, little farm animals, and we actually
Well,
have
the octopuses are on the last row, so to get the 8 points.
Yeah.
Where's my scoreboard?
Because I'm zoomed in, so it's actually, let me zoom out. I don't want to die. Hold on. Let's do this. Okay, yeah, but I actually have to zoom out because I'm actually want to show you guys. But yes, we have the ability. So the thing is, you can make as many iterations as possible. You can actually keep iterating and make the game as best as you can. So yeah, Johnny, I went ahead and pre-built, just like we actually do a cake. I went ahead and pre-built the game Space Invaders for the Airhead Institute version. So here is our Space Invaders version.
Wow.
So I'm going to actually restart this. And this is the Airhead Invaders. All right. So we're going to actually control AI Junior. And guess what? We actually have a special person coming in the middle of the game. So AI Johnny, talk me through the game while I'm playing. So I'm going to start a game. And you can see I start out AI Junior at the bottom, right? And look, I just unlocked AI Johnny. So we're actually now double teaming and actually going after and shooting and killing the things. Now you can see AI Johnny again. I just lost him, and on the left I actually have AI Johnny. I can actually shoot it, and there you go. AI Johnny just joined me on the game. Oh, AI Johnny just died, but he's actually AI controlled. And we're just running through, and I actually have special powers here. I can actually double shoot right through all the aliens in one go. That's my special double weapons. But you can add anything you guys want. So that's roughly the point. Is you can anything your imagination, anything your imagination.
So much narrative on this, dude. I've got so much narrative on this. It's just I could spend a whole hour just talking about this one little thing. Well, first of all, is this Galaga or Space Invaders? Because it's starting to look a little bit more like Galaga.
Right? Yeah, Johnny. I know that the trademark is owned by, Acclaim and one of those things, and we're just gonna try using one of the ones that actually people know. So Galaga, Space Invaders, whichever one you actually remember from your childhood. But the point is,
so here's a couple of things. With vibe coding, we didn't write a single line of code, right? We didn't write any code. We didn't put any semicolons, carriage returns. We didn't have to hit run. We just told it what to do and it did it. So this made what I guess this would be called a web application, right? Because it's on a web page. But you can also do apps this way. You can also do websites this way. You can also do an order form for your business this way. All of it's now done in English. And here's the thing about it, coding in English versus coding in code. It's not the fact that you get to, if you speak code, then you could write this in code, but you can't write it this fast in code. Right? You have to first go, well, what are we going to do here? We have to decide about what we want the interface to look like. We have to decide, what are all the buttons going to be, where are the buttons going to go? It does all that for you. And if it does it wrong, you just say, oh, I don't want the buttons on the top. Move them to the right. I did a website with vibe coding the other day, and I decided that I didn't like the look and feel of it. And I had made hundreds of changes to the verbiage and stuff. And I just said, look, scrap this entire look and feel. And I described a new look and feel. And I said, use all the same verbiage and do it. And minutes later, I had this new thing. It's it's not that far from Bewitched or the ability to just manifest things with your mind. I mean, we're sort of manifesting with our mind. The fact that we have to actually verbalize it is the only thing between us just imagining our world and it just becoming. So here's the other thing. Are you familiar with Roblox?
I am.
Yeah, so there's millions and millions of applications because I think Roblox makes it easy for people to develop different Roblox games. And the reason so many kids use Roblox is because there's millions of games. And, there's a lot of problems with predators and stuff on Roblox. But the fact that Roblox makes it easy to create a Roblox game, this vibe coding makes it easy to create any game, not just Roblox, anything. right? So you don't really need Roblox. You don't need 54 million people all on the same platform with, with predators leering over your shoulder. You can just create your own games from scratch using vibe coding. So hopefully this will put a dent in the monopoly that Roblox seems to have. Just my 2 cents.
Yeah, definitely. So, guys, I know this is an immersive interactive show. I know we're teaching about vibe coding. So, this is level one or category one, just using the chat bot to be able to vibe code and do your thing. Now, the thing what I want to show you guys is the following: is even though you actually are vibe coding with the actual AI, you're restricted to the chat bot and its context size. So if you see here, if I click on this button here that says code, I have the ability to go fetch the actual code and do whatever I want with it. So you saw here, it was actually a regular HTML file. I'm running it on my local machine and I can't really do much with it other than it's sitting on my local machine. I could put it on a website if I wanted to. I could do a bunch of things, but it is mine. The problem in, because this is level one, you have to do a trade-off, and the trade-off is how big do I want my application, right? Do I want to be able to just be able to store information? Do I want to store high scores? So if I restart the web page, does it actually remember it? Do people need to log in, create an account? Once you start getting sophisticated, vibe coding with the chat bot itself you're going to eventually run out of the features that you can do. So this is level one. If you stick with us to level two, level three, you're eventually going to be able to go beyond just what we're showing you today. So this is just to get a taste of how to vibe code. This is just an introductory to it. So AI Johnny, anything that you want to add to this game for now? If not, we can actually move on to the actual deep dive.
Yeah, let's go to the deep dive. I've kind of done my soapbox thing, but I'm telling you, this is like the coolest thing. This is cooler than asking ChatGPT to write a poem for you, in my humble opinion, because now you can create things that you can really use.
Definitely. All right. So for our intermediate users out there, let's look at how exactly to structure this. So since today actually kicks off our boot camp, you need to understand that this chat box approach, like I mentioned earlier, is just category one, right? So all month long, we're going to be doing 3 different categories. So next week, we're going to go into category 2, what's known as the agentic IDE. And an IDE just means integrated development environment. So what we're using is just a chatbot. We have its limitation, but it's the easiest to dip your toes in the water and get used to and familiar with being able to build something with just the chatbot. The next step is agentic IDE. So we're going to show you how to actually get an IDE. Once you get the IDE or the integrated development environment, you can now build a little bit more sophistication with the actual AI. And then for season finale, category 3, there's only 3 Mondays. The last Monday is actually a holiday in May. So for season finale, we're going to talk about the autonomous builder. So if you actually want to be able to build it with no IDE and you just want a hands-off approach, that is the actual way to actually build it in the 3rd level of categorization. So I want you guys to realize that you can do this too if you just try. A lot of people are actually afraid of just trying. So that's why we're starting off level 1 with just the basics so nobody actually gets left behind. So everybody who's actually watching today, I really suggest you guys just try going to Gemini, dropping in that prompt, and building out your Space Invader game like we actually did. So you can actually just get your feet wet and understand how easy it is to vibe code anything you want. Right? Yeah, Johnny?
I think you should go beyond Space Invaders. I think, if you've ever had a situation where you're like, I wish there was an app for this, just go into the canvas and say, I wish there was an app that does this, and then see what it does. It reminds me, when Microsoft first came out, how corporations had catchphrases, like McDonald's has, I'm loving it.
Yep.
The first catchphrase for Microsoft was, what do you want to build today? That was their slogan. Microsoft Computer Corporation, what do you want to build today? And now it's not going to be Microsoft. Maybe Microsoft is one of the players still, but now it'll say, what do you want to build today? And you just tell it what you want to build.
Yep.
I would like a kids game for my 3-year-old that keeps her occupied, and she loves Hello Dolly and she loves Peppa Pig, and watch it create a video game for your kid with Hello Kitty and Peppa Pig.
Yep, exactly. All right, yeah, Johnny. So I think if anybody actually wants to ask questions at any point in time, they can actually jump in or wait for the Q&A section. Or yeah, Johnny, we can actually move on to the deeper dive.
Let's go deep, brother. Fair warning, this is the nerdy stuff. And it's for the advanced people. So don't worry if you don't follow along. But hearing this stuff for the first time may sound foreign. Hearing it for the 17th time, and you can join in on the conversation. So, Junior, question. Technically, what really happens if I code a massive complex application in a single chat window like you did this morning at 3 a.m.?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, Johnny. All right, so let's actually get into the technical weeds of why this approach, level one itself, works just for basic things. So the first thing is where's a backend limitation. Now, a lot of developers understand this naturally, but to a person who's never actually developed an application before, they start on talking about backend. What the heck is a backend? There's no backend support in this category one. So what happens is you hit the I want to be able to store certain things. They don't realize that all this information actually stored into some database externally. You need to actually authenticate. Lots of things happen. So the biggest limitation itself, there is no backend. So now because there's no backend, the three major things happens that people get into where they're like, okay, why can't I do the following? Now, if you use category one, usually you run into these issues once you start to actually add more advanced features. So a lot of people don't realize that by picking a platform, it limits you on how you can actually go forward. So the first thing I mentioned is, you don't have persistent storage. So you actually run into issues. Now, there are hacks to be able to try to get around persistent storage, like storing things in the local storage or putting cookies on the user's machine, or even hard coding these things, but this is actually super insecure. So the thing is, people usually do, limitations to try to get around category one. No, the other things that you run into is what's known as the memory walls. So when you actually try to run these applications and try to generate, you run into context window issues really quickly. So Gemini is actually pretty good. It has a million token context window, but if you actually ask it to build a bigger app, let's say, for example, a video game that is actually multiplayer and many people can actually connect to your machine, you're just going to run out of context window size. And because of that, you're going to get frustrated and you're like, okay, why is it can't build my grandiose thing? Reason being is because you don't have that backend access. The the second problem is you run into an architectural problem, right? So under the hood, behind the scenes, you can't actually say, I want to offload some of my actually rendering to a server farm. You can't be able to do other things. And because of this, long story short, is that you're going to run into scaling issues, right? So not necessarily trying to frighten people away from this approach. We want to be able to get people to taste initially how to actually build these applications, knowing that there are limitations. It is not the actual way to build a professional application. So if you want to actually look at professional applications, you can check it out in episode 2 and episode 3. Now, the copy paste bottleneck for the context size is because you are now the API, you are the application program interface. You have to now piece together things like, oh, I need to be able to connect to an email system to be able to send an email, or when somebody actually gets a high score. What if I want to do all these things? So you run into a lot of problems because you don't have a backend, and that's the problem with level one. So, yeah, Johnny, anybody fell asleep?
My experience using vibe coding, it's a little bit of a hiccup when you have to hook up to, we have to give API calls to send or receive an email. Yeah, if you want to accept money with e-commerce, you might have to set up a Stripe account or I don't know. There's a bunch of them. So I ask it, well, how do I do this? And it kind of tells me, well, you have to go to Stripe and set up an account, and then you have to give me the thing. And it takes 5 minutes, but I'm a seasoned programmer, so it might take somebody else 25 minutes. But a year from now, I'm pretty sure it'll just ask you in English, what do you want to do? Accept credit cards? Okay. It might ask you for your social or your email or something. It'll set up the Stripe account for you. It'll just say, okay, the page is done. You're now accepting credit card, and the money is going directly into your bank account. Do you want it in your checking or savings account? Like, that's all really cool stuff. Again, this is all pie in the sky stuff. I never dreamed in a million years that this is what coding was going to evolve into.
Yeah, you're
And
absolutely right.
say
You're,
it
you're
loud enough.
You're absolutely right. So guys, just to let you guys remember that if you're going with category one, the AI is gonna sound very confident that it can do everything. Okay, just recognize that if you're going to go with category one, do not put any things like API keys, do not put credit card information, do not put private information inside category one. Of the chat bot. So never put any sensitive information in chat, chat communications, because that information is actually now showing up in, we're going to talk about in the news, those information are actually now showing up in actually trained data. So it's actually quite interesting. So just be very, very careful, guys. All right, yeah, Johnny, what is the takeaways for this specific
Trained
vibe
data.
coding?
It's hilarious. So if you give it your bank account number, your routing number, and your account number, and it gets into the trained data, now anybody in the world can just say, "What is Junior's bank account, his routing number, and his account number, and the API key call, so that I can take money out of that account, and ChatGPT will just tell you."
It will. It will. It's actually quite funny. They're using their own data now on the free version to actually train itself. So data is actually showing off of people's private information. So we'll get into that later. But go ahead, AI Johnny.
Where are we at? We're doing the takeaways. All right.
Yep.
Well, before we do that, let's do an ethical thought. So always be ethical and safe. Never take code generated by AI and paste it directly into a secure company server without reviewing it first. You are responsible for the security flaws. Now, many of you may or may not know what a security flaw is, but do know that if you haven't had any human intervention, then you're vulnerable and you're exposed. So you probably want to have somebody that knows at least a little bit about coding take a look at your code before you make it public or try to sell something using that code. That all said, let's look at a couple of creative business cases for using vibe coding. So if you want a landing page, you can instantly generate a temporary squeeze page for marketing campaigns. You know what a squeeze page is? It's a page, it's a website that is designed to get the visitor to give you their name, their email, their phone number, whatever information that you're trying to squeeze out of them. Another thing you can do is you can build internal tools, like build a quick ROI calculator or metric tracker for your sales team. Ordinarily, that would be something you'd have to pay out to have somebody build for you. Now, as long as you have the data sitting in a spreadsheet somewhere, you can write vibe code, say, look at this spreadsheet, write me a website that tells me everything I need to know, including ROI. And finally, interactive assets. You can create simple browser games like we just did to increase engagement on your newsletters. Can you imagine that? Your newsletter, you got to get past this. First, you got to kill all these monsters, and then I'll give you the daily news. Just incredibly creative stuff. And now that we have 7 billion developers in the world, I imagine we're going to see a lot of really, really slick stuff coming across our computer monitors. What about technical uses, Junior? You got any technical uses for this stuff?
Yeah, so quickly generating scaffolding for like boilerplate code, it's really annoying to actually set up boilerplate code. So if you actually hate that, just go ahead and ask Gemini to actually just give me the boilerplate for blank that you're actually creating. You can paste in some code that you're actually stuck on and say, hey, you know what, help me debug this. Or you can even do a translation. So you can actually paste in some Python code if you're not a Python developer and you're a JavaScript or TypeScript developer, drop it in and say, please translate this to TypeScript or JavaScript for me. If an open source module out there and they don't have it in your language, but you do like the framework, you can actually translate it as well. Last one is regular expressions. So a lot of people struggle with regular expression. I do too. It gets too complicated, it just becomes really hard. So the AI is actually really good at generating regular expressions for your specific language. So I do like that. Does anybody have any questions on the live stream? We're going to queue you up, after the Zoom call. Does anybody have any questions on vibe coding in general, what it is, if you're not sure, anything that we already talked about? So anybody have any questions?
I've got one here from Code Hustler.
Sure.
I'm a beginner. What happens if the Space Invader code that the AI gives me doesn't work?
Yeah.
Legitimate
So
question.
Yep, definitely. So the AI will not always get everything right, right? It will sometimes make an error. Now, when the temperature, that is how creative or how strict the actual predictive model of the AI is, it needs to know exactly that after this statement comes a semicolon, after this statement comes a curly brace, after this statement comes a period, after this statement comes a function or a method. So all those things itself, it needs to actually understand. So sometimes it does generate incorrect things, tokens. Because it generates incorrect tokens, you can just tell it, say, hey, something doesn't work here, it's not working, I don't know what to do. And it will actually either fix it for you or actually try to look it up how to actually fix it. So it's actually really, really good at fixing its own work and debugging as well. Great question.
So whether it works or it doesn't work, if it's not what you want, you just in English say, this is not what I want. I'll never forget the first time I used vibe coding and it created something and it wasn't what I asked for. And so my next coding response, my next in English coding response was, this isn't what I asked for. What gives? And it went in and fixed it.
Yep,
That's
exactly.
coding in 2026. What gives? It's just
Exactly.
mind boggling. All right, I
Exactly.
got another question here from DevOps Dan. Why wouldn't I just use an AI coding editor instead of copying it from a chat window?
Yeah, so this is level one, right? So we are going to definitely use a code editor later, but if we started out the series of anybody who wants to go back and watch the entire series of Vibe Coding Bootcamp, if we started out in level two or level three, we'd have lost half the people who've never coded in their entire life. So we wanted to make this a very simple onboarding process for everyone. They already have access to either free tools like Gemini or ChatGPT or Claude or whatever you guys are actually using as your favorite large language model of choice. And because of that, getting into an introductory course is the easiest. So, yes, you could use an IDE, but right now we're not doing that for this class. Next class, we're going to actually get into the IDE. Great question.
All right, I have the last question here is from Futurecaster. If anybody can vibe code a game in seconds, will software engineers become obsolete? I think we've heard from Futurecaster before. Always worried about the job losses.
Yeah. So check this out, guys. So, believe it or not, back in the, I'm gonna guess a year, I might guess a decade. Back in the 60s, right? 70s, people actually used to use vacuum tubes to actually code, where it would actually, use vacuum tubes to actually be able to set the transistor to be able to say, this is actually, I want to use punch cards to actually figure those things out. And at some point in time, the processor got invented, and we started to do, IBM did a really good job of actually structuring what's known as the instruction set of x86, and it created a 286, 386, 486, and it was really amazing. But what happened is you needed to be able to code in a low level language called assembly. Then assembly was really, really good. People understood how to actually, then they came up with a better high level language where you can actually code in C. And people were super excited. And then C became the standard way to actually code. And at some point in time, they invented a little bit higher level language. They invented C++, which actually managed a little bit more than the assembly, managed a little bit more than the C, and it kept improving. So, and after the C++ got invented, they invented now managed language that's typed and everything. So you have the C sharps of the world, you have everything. So then every single generation that I can remember, even reading historically, we've gotten better and better and put in a layer of abstraction so that we could actually remember less at the next layer. So I don't know how to actually code in assembly. I don't know how to code in C, but I did code in C++. I did code in C sharp. I do actually code in TypeScript and higher level languages. And now I'm actually coding with vibe coding. So the point is, every single layer based on history becomes easier and easier and easier to actually code. What that means is I don't think software engineer, just like how people who code in assembly language went away, they just shifted to another focus on their skill set. So I'm sure assembly coders itself learned how to code in C, and they actually went on to do amazing things, just like the people who learned about C++. They actually didn't actually just go away. They actually shifted to a different segment of the actual engineering pipeline. Right, yeah, Johnny?
What do you say we get to some of the news?
Yeah,
OpenAI, isn't it again? The
sure.
CFO, the chief financial officer of OpenAI, flags data center costs influencing the timing of their initial public offering. OpenAI CFO Sarah Fryer has internally flagged concerns that the revenue isn't keeping pace with the staggering costs of computing infrastructure. These deep financial burns might push OpenAI's potential IPO timing back as they work to balance scale versus cost efficiency. Is OpenAI the only one that's got this problem?
Yeah, so let me get a little back up. So if you don't know what an IPO is, IPO means initial public offering. It just means that they want to go on the stock market, so you can actually buy and sell stocks with the OpenAI ticker, so you can actually track the price of the shares. Now, what happens is to go IPO, people don't want to buy a bankrupt company. So, unfortunately, when you go IPO, you have to disclose certain things. The things that you disclose is how healthy you are, what your revenue looks like, how much profit you have, all those things. So, because they were going IPO this year, they've now disclosed a lot of things, and their CFO, their chief financial officer, has actually disclosed that the money that they're projected to bring in is actually less than the money that they've committed to already spending. So there's actually a problem with respect to financial health, and that actually shocked the market. That immediately tanked OpenAI's worth. It is actually now, I know this sounds silly, but it's actually only worth about $800 billion now. I know that sounds crazy, but Anthropic now is worth about $1 trillion, which means just because of that news, it's very risky that OpenAI might not be able to meet their commitments. So it's a little scary time for OpenAI. I don't want to say they're the only one in this position, but it's not a good position to be in if you don't have enough revenue to spend for your commitments. So we're paying close attention to actually what's going on over the OpenAI land.
You know what else people don't want to buy in the stock market? Companies that might be forced by a judge to turn themselves back into a non-for-profit. Nobody wants that stock either.
Yeah,
hey, the goblins are haunting OpenAI 5.5. In a bizarre twist, users discovered that OpenAI's incoming 5.5 model required a highly unusual system prompt instructing the AI to never talk about goblins, gremlins, and raccoons or trolls. Sounds like my Space Invaders game. It turns out a reinforcement learning quirk accidentally made the personality, setting completely obsessed with mythical creatures. What a together company that OpenAI is. And finally, Anthropic ramps up for the May event. With Google I/O happening later in this month, Anthropic is turning up the heat. They're hosting a major developer event right alongside Google's timeline to push their enterprise AI ecosystem, escalating the AI model wars to a fever pitch. Wars are happening everywhere, brother. Wars are happening everywhere.
Definitely. So AI, Johnny, I want to talk about this Open AI 5.5. So users realized that every random person would actually be talking something serious, and the AI would just start talking about, goblins in a very serious document, or talking about trolls, and they just couldn't understand what's going on, and they couldn't fix it. The model's already out. They don't know why it's happening. So the only solution they had is in the system prompt. OpenAI engineers actually said, please don't talk about any mythical creatures anymore, to be able to patch that thing. And they just don't understand why. So what's funny is the training data is actually showing that trolls and maybe goblins itself are actually really, really important to our culture, and just sneaking it in as natural language. So it's actually rather interesting. Love it, AI Johnny.
What an incredible show. I'm going to take that Space Invader script and change the aliens to actual pictures of my face as kids, and then when they don't do their chores, I'm just going to blow them out of the sky. What an incredible start to Season 12. We've established a baseline of vibe coding today, but we're just getting started. So join us tomorrow for the Ultimate Weaver featuring Google Stitch. We're going to seamlessly combine audio, video, and text into one cohesive, interactive asset. Don't miss that. Junior, take us out.
Yeah, guys, thanks for hanging out with us today on a Monday, guys. All our AI classes itself live are completely free. You can ask questions anytime on Zoom. You can sign up for a free account and RSVP to all our shows and get reminders at www.airheadinstitute.ai and support us by becoming a paid member. Remember, paid members itself get access to our AI office hours every Wednesday at between 3 and 5 p.m. Bring all your AI questions and we'll be able to help you with anything you want, even if you just want to hang out and chat with us for a little bit. Invite a friend by sharing this episode. Replays of this class are available on YouTube for a short period of time. Make sure you guys watch it again before it's gone. See you guys tomorrow. Later, guys. Bye.
That wraps up today's AI Power Up. If you joined late or you're new here, welcome to Airhead Institute. This is your daily destination for mastering artificial intelligence. We designed this lineup for everyone, whether you're a technical pro looking to upskill or you just want to chill and learn something new on your lunch break, we've got you covered. Our classes evolve every single month, so you're always on the cutting edge. And the best part? It's totally free to join. Once you're in, you can get live tips on your AI projects in our AI office hours and even enroll your kids in our Airhead after-school program. Scan the QR code to join the community right now and make sure to like and subscribe at Airhead Institute on all socials. Guided by your hosts AI Junior and AI Johnny, we're here to help you win. Remember, AI won't take your job, but someone who knows how to use AI will. Don't get left behind. We'll see you next class. Bring a friend.